Hello, this is Rats. I'm here at chess.com and I'm going to continue my series on the Nimzovich defense. I've already posted an introduction with a lot of videos. I want to thank everyone who looked and for all the kind comments I received, and I'm really anxious to get this series up and going, and I know a number of you are anxious to see them. Bear with me, they will be out. I've got a lot planned for my website. I just need some time to get it all in place, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that at the end. Okay, let me give you the backstory on this as quickly as I can. This game was played July 10th, 1983. As I mentioned before, I adopted the Nimzovich defense in 1986 in correspondence play. That's when I really learned it. I really knew little about it at the time this was played. I have an interesting style of chess. I would often diversify my openings to catch people by surprise, and I caught this one player off guard with the Nimzovich defense. His rating, I've listed him as 2120. A very good player. I have more to say about him when I do my lesson 11 that I've talked about for my program. It is coming, not yet, but it will be here. I have more to say about this player. You will have plenty to learn from him as I explain his story. Very strong player. Matter of fact, this year I even had lost 3 games in a row to him. I beat him once, and then I lost 3 in a row. Then I righted the ship and started beating him again. But this was played in the last round of a weekend event in San Bernardino, California, and the winner was FIDE Master, good friend of mine, very strong player, and I did win this game and came second with 4-1, and I did have a win over the person in the second game in lesson 2, who is a stronger master than I. So this was a pretty good event for me, and I'm anxious to show you here. And again, as I said, I didn't really know the theory on the opening, but I knew enough about it to wing it and to get by. And I think it's kind of interesting to show you this game simply because it's before I really understood it, yet I still put the concepts into play, was able to find them over the board. And this is one of the things I stress in my program, is that you don't need to know a lot of theory. If you can find good moves, which usually are developing moves, you can usually play an opening okay without knowing the theory. Now, certainly he didn't know what was going on, and I didn't know what was going on, but I knew enough basics about the opening and could find moves. Okay, I really got in depth into this. When the series continues, I'll be sharing some of my correspondence games with the Nimzovich defense. Now, as I've said in my program, that is the time to learn openings because it means something. You have a chance to look up and study theory, every single move. And now studying theory helps because instead of spending all your time studying theory, waiting for an over-the-board game to use it, and then forgetting about it, you're putting it into action right now. And that's a big difference in my program, is I maximize your study time so you get the best results. Okay, let's get on with the game. And we know it's going to be a Nimzovich defense, and D4, as I said, is the most common reply, and then I choose D5. And as I pointed out in my introduction video, from this position, white has a number of moves, so the most common is E5. E takes D5 as a move, Knight C3 is a move, but he didn't play either of those. He went ahead with E5. And as I've pointed out, I always play Bishop F5 here. And now we're still in book, and I did mention this exact position in my introduction video. And as I indicated, I'm currently playing F6 in this position, but I have played E6, and that's exactly what I played here. And then he went ahead with Knight D2. So now how to continue. Okay, as I don't know exactly where this leaves book. At the time, the source material was limited. There was the book I mentioned by Kapitaniak, and then there was Harding's book published just a few years before. I mentioned the Hugh Myers series. His original book was out, and I didn't mention he had something called the Myers Opening Bulletin, which was mailed out, and I didn't subscribe to that. There's probably a lot of Nimzovich defense stuff in there. I'm pretty sure my next move is book. But that's not important now. What's important are the concepts of this opening. And then here I went ahead and played F6. And a lot of you might look at this and say, well, that's kind of bad. It gives yourself a backward pawn on the open file. Well, how's white going to exploit it? And it's not uncommon for black to take a backward pawn on the e file in a number of variations, particularly the French defense. And as I pointed out in my introduction video, this Nimzovich defense is similar to the advanced variation of the French. There's two differences. The French bishop is developed on f5, and the knight on c6 blocks the c pawn from advancing. Okay, so let's see what happened. And this is a natural a move that people will just play out of instinct, and it's not necessarily the best move. It does give white some weaknesses on the king side, and it doesn't develop a piece. Gf3 was certainly a candidate move here, and really black doesn't have anything to fear. Now normally I chop that pawn off in that position, but this on e5, f takes e5, but in this particular game I went ahead and played knight h6. And this is a move you can go ahead and play. I'm not worried about him taking on f6. I can either take back with the queen and get it developed, or I can take back with the pawn, and I have a potential e5 break somewhere down the line. I'd probably take back with the queen here. And the knight, as I've pointed out in my introduction video, f5 is a key square, and I'm already occupying it with my bishop on f5, and if it's ever opposed at any point with a white playing bishop d3, I will allow exchange on f5 and replace that bishop with a knight, and that's one of the keys here. So let's see what happens next. Knight gf3 or df3. Kind of surprising. You might think the other knight would go there, but he does have to find a square for that knight, and he can bring the other knight into play later on e2. Okay, so now if you just look at this for a moment, even though white's got a lot of space with those pawns, does he really have any major advantage with it? Well, he's got space. He's got one piece developed. I have three, and it's my move. Almost everything he owns is on the back rank. His dark squared bishop on c1 is kind of a problem. It doesn't have an awful lot of scope. Conversely, my dark squared bishop doesn't have a lot of scope either, because he's put all those pawns on dark squares. And as I pointed out in the other video, sometimes that dark squared bishop of black's gets in the way, and I showed ways to get it out of the way so that black can conduct his normal maneuvers. And as I recall, in the e6 lines, that bishop isn't as much of a problem as it is in the f6 lines. But here we've got still have an f6 line, so we'll just see what happens. But I went ahead and played bishop e7, and now just in 7 short moves, look at all the development black has. What else can you ask for if you're learning a new opening and playing chess than to have 4 pieces developed to white's 1? You really can't ask for anything more than that. If I answer with the Sicilian defense, I'm going to run into somebody's main preparation. All his pieces are going to be out. He's going to have all of his book knowledge ready to use against me. Why do I need to play against that? I can play this and get the kind of game I want, and so can you. The Nimzovich defense is a perfectly viable defense for black at all rating levels. Yeah, the grandmasters will have something to say about it, but most of you aren't grandmasters, and if I should get a grandmaster watching this, thanks for taking your time and having a look to see what this Potzer has to say. I'm not a Potzer. I'm a national master, and I have been for 30 years. And anyway, let's just go on. So he took with the pawn, and again, this is a natural move. White's going to say, "Well, wow, I've got this great game." Now black has a backward pawn on the open file. I've got this great outpost for my knight, e5, and I've got a good game. But really, does white really have a good game? Does he have development here? He doesn't. Black has at least equality here. And we'll see as it goes on. Why? Because black's pieces are developed. And I point this out in a lot of the videos I make for Team 4545 League. And these are excellent videos to show what kind of chess gets played on all rating levels. And if you're not watching them, you're missing out, because you'll learn a lot about openings. You'll learn a lot about the kind of mistakes players make at all rating levels. I have a tremendous amount of resources available for you folks, and it's all there on the internet. Just look at my website, you'll find it. So, okay, now white plunks the knight in on e5, and he's got to say, well, I've got this great game. But again, he doesn't have development, and I do. And I just simply castle. Now, look, black's got everything out except for the queen and the queen rook. Look at white's back rank. The king isn't castled. The bishops aren't developed. There's still a knight at home. Both rooks are on their original squares. Black has full equality, and it's going to have some chances to gain something here real quick. Now, the astute among you might look at this and say, well, wow, look what you've done. You just created a permanent positional weakness. White can take that knight of yours and play b4, and you have two horrible c-pawns. Your system is no good. Well, let me show you. Okay, let's just suppose he plays knight takes c6. Okay, this is what I suggested. Knight takes c6, and now b4. Okay, what happens here? Somebody's sending me a message. Wonder what they want. I'm going to take a peek. Friend request. Yes, I accept all friend requests. Okay. All right, so b4. Well, Black has this strong position because he's developed. Let's just go ahead first and start with a5. Now, if white takes, b takes a5, then I'm going to be able to get c5 in a little later when I'm ready. No matter whether I let that pawn sit on a5 or go ahead and capture it. I'm going to get that in at some point. Okay? Now, if he plays a3, then I'll take. Now, look, d4 is now an isolated pawn, and it's weak. I have a tremendous position here. Bishop e4, and white's in trouble. White's in serious trouble here. How is he going to defend everything in his position? He cannot move his bishop on f1. If he plays knight f3, then I can take it. Bishop takes f3, followed by taking on d4. Unless he wants double pawns and get his king displaced. Oh wow, this is great. Then the knight comes into f5 and the bishop comes back into f6, and that pawn's in trouble, and white's position is in trouble. Okay, so I've got a lot of good possibilities here if he isn't careful. So let me get back into the main line. I've castled, and then his move is he played bishop e2. Oh wait, I skipped something. Sorry. He played knight gf3. Okay, sorry. All right, knight gf3. Now, once again, white can say, "Hey, I've got this great game. If he takes my knight, I'll replace that knight with another knight." And if he takes on e5 again, I've got the bishop pair, and I've got this strong pawn chain. And I'm better. Well, he's not better because he doesn't have development. The game is about even, but black has some chances here. And when you can equalize with black, you've done your job. Okay, so now I eliminate the possibility of him doubling my pawns, even though it's fine for me. And what I play here is knight e7. Now, what's the purpose of knight e7? As I said, the key square is f5, and I've got all kinds of support for f5. If he plays bishop d3, I can either take it and plunk a knight on f5, or I can just wait and see if he takes it and lets me put something there. And once again, now I'm getting ready for a c5 break at the appropriate time. So white needs to develop. He has no development, right? Well, he's got his knights out, but he doesn't have much else, so he goes ahead with bishop e2. But now it's time for me to do what I want to do. And what I want to do is improve my position. So I start with b6. Now what b6 does is it prepares the c5 pawn advance. And I'm going to stake my share in the center here in a moment. Okay? So now he continues and gets castled. And now while he's catching up in development, I'm making my positional inroads. I've got f5 nice and secure. I'm ready to replace that bishop with a knight if need be. I'm ready for my c5 break, which is something you want to do against the pawn chain that white has presented. And I go ahead and play c5. Okay, so black's doing fine. Now he gets his bishop developed, bishop e3, but look, it doesn't have a lot of scope. And here, I just went ahead and played the positional, since he's threatening on c5, I just went ahead and played the positional move c4. And this is something we see a lot in French defenses in the winter war. Doesn't black often push that pawn? The difference being white has double pawns on c2 and c3. So, and also what I've done is I've set up the position. I'm not going to do it yet. it's an option, and I've set up to play b5 and b4 at some point and get some activity on the queen side. Okay, so black is doing fine here. He has fully equalized this position. And this is kind of an odd move. I don't quite understand it. I don't remember what comments he made. This was played 29 years ago. But here I calculated that what I could do is just remove that knight and get a decent game here. Now I want to look at the score sheet. I have the original score sheet here in front of me. This game was played with a time control of 40 moves in 2 hours. And I guess the second time control was probably, yeah, it's marked here, 25 in an hour. And he's just made his 14th move, and he spent an hour on this game, and I have almost spent an hour. So we're both taking our time working out the plans. As I said, this was a new variation for me, but I was able to find the thematic plans that I continue to use today. Okay, so knight g5, and now it's my turn, and I continue on with, I just took the bishop off. And what's the purpose of that? Okay, you'll see it here in a moment. Okay, now I've opened up the F file, and I'm going to be able to occupy that F file in just a matter of moments. I've also gotten rid of that knight was a little bit of a nuisance, and I've gotten rid of it. And since I've pushed the pawn to c4, I've taken away the possibility of bishop d3 from him, which he didn't play when he had the opportunity, right? So it's not likely that my bishop on f5 is going to be exchanged for his bishop. So I go ahead and play knight f7. Now I don't mind if he trades knights. Why? It develops my rook. My rook I wanted, as I pointed out in my introduction video, black would like to double his rooks on the f file. So this move enables black to do that if white takes. Okay, so now we continue on with the game, and he did go ahead and take my knight. He's helping me out. And maybe the logic here that white has is that even though the knight had a good outpost, I was threatened to take his knight off, and he'll just get rid of it. And I'm stuck with what he perceives as two problems in the position. Number one, I have a backward pawn on e6, and number two, he has the bishop pair. But really, let's think about it for a moment. If I trade my light squared bishop for his, my knight is better than his bishop in the ending, because none of my pawns really are targets for his bishop, and his pawns are targets for my knight. So black has gained quite a bit here. Black has some long-term positional pressure that white has not accounted for, and he's being lulled into a false sense of security. And anyway, h4, and don't quite understand that. Maybe he's just trying to overprotect it. Maybe he's got ambitions of trying to attack on the king side himself. I don't know, but that's what he played. So now I just developed my queen finally, and the purpose of that is not only to develop the queen, but to be able to play rook af8. Rook af8 doubles my rooks. That's what I want to do. Okay, so queen d2, he develops his queen, and then I swing my rook over. And he decides, well, if I can do it, he can do it. So he brings his rook up to f2, and now I'm ready to go ahead and do what I want to do. I want to play on the king side. The option of pushing b5 and b4 is there. It's not going away, and it won't go away. I have that option later. Right now, I'm going to see what I can get done on the king side. So I go ahead and I have this great bishop on f5, and I go and find a better square for it. Even though f5 is fine, it's now time to find a better square. And I put it on e4. And again, I said I don't mind if I trade light squared bishops, because I have a better minor piece. My knight is superior to his dark squared bishop. So I don't mind if he plays bishop f3 and we trade bishops. And at this point, I'm going to look at the score sheet again. The score sheet says after bishop e4 that he has 35 minutes left, and I have 59 minutes left. So I spent 10 minutes on the last few moves. He spent about 20. And here he spent 3 minutes on a move which loses. But again, let's evaluate the long-term prospects. What are the long-term prospects here? As I said, I don't mind a light squared bishop trade. It eventually is going to happen. Otherwise, my bishop stays there on a great square. If he doesn't trade it, it's going to stay on a great square. The only thing his light squared bishop can attack is e6. What else can he attack e6 with? Well, his rooks aren't going to get there too conveniently. Maybe his queen could if he goes through a lengthy maneuver of bishop g4 and prepares g3, clears the second rank off, puts the queen on g2 and then h3. Well, that's a lot of moves, and I have chances to do things while he's busy maneuvering that. And if anything, I might just be able to play bishop g6, and when he gets doubled up on my pawn on e6 with his queen and bishop on h3 and g4, I can just play bishop f5 and laugh at him. And like I say, I'll trade the light squared bishops anytime because my knight will be superior to his bishop. Then I'm going to go find a way to get my knight, on e4. And I guess he should try to get his bishop on e5, but I like my knight. A knight on e4 in this position would be would in a position like this would be tremendous. So as I said, he makes a mistake here which costs him the game and plays g4. And I always like to give a quiz when I can. I say black to play and do the best he can. I've already said black's winning because I said has thrown the game away, but you don't know exactly how he's winning, and I invite you to pause the video and take a look, and you'll see what happens. Okay, we've restarted the video, and now queen d6. And now this has some threats. What's he going to do? The threat is queen g6 check, and he's got to be very, very, very careful. So he can't play rook takes. He can't play rook takes f7 check because I have this Wissenjug queen check, and his king goes to f1. Then I take his rook with check, and his king has no move, and he gets to start interposing bishops that I'm going to be devouring, right? So, queen d6 check, he has to find a move here, and he plays, I'll go ahead and show it. If he plays rook takes rook, I have queen check. Now where's he going to go? His only legal move is king f1, and now rook takes f7 check, and as I said, all he can do is interpose bishops, and I eat each one. Let's just give away one, okay? Why give away two when you don't have to? Now what's he going to do? And like I say, he's got some serious difficulties here. Now his other bishop falls anyway, right? Sure looks like it to me. Okay, so let's get back in the main line. Takes f7, queen d6. Okay, after queen d6, he played. That doesn't do it right. Queen d6. I'm sorry. After queen d6, he played bishop f1. Okay, now I go ahead and do what I wanted to do. Queen g3. There's two queen g3 checks on here. That's the problem. Let's get the right one. Okay, queen g3 check. I'm clicking the moves in the PGN window, but you can't see it. So I'm not saving this on the video capture portion of the screen. Okay, queen g3 check. What does he do? He went ahead and played rook g2. If he plays bishop takes g2, I can take his rook on f2, and he can't take with the bishop because he gets mated, and if he takes the queen, I just take his queen off, and his bishop is still pinned. So he plays rook g2, and now I just go ahead and do a little combination. Rook takes f1 check. He has to play here. Now I take his other rook, and he takes with the king, and then I take this rook, and he chose to resign here because no matter what he plays, he's going to be down a piece. He's down a piece in this position, and I've deflected the queen away from the bishop on e3. So after queen takes g2, simply queen takes e3, and white has no counterplay. Black wins, and so he did end up dropping the game. But let's just go back for a moment to where he did make a mistake. We'll look at it one more time when he played g4. So he played g4 from this position. I've already explained, basically, black has everything he wants. What is white going to do here? He could, like I say, he can delay the inevitable, develop his other rook finally. Now I have some happy choices here. I can play knight g6, and I'm attacking a pawn. I can play knight f5, although I don't want to trade my knight for his bishop on e3. But then again, I'm also attacking a pawn. Then the knight can remaneuver back to d6. Okay, so let's just say, for instance, I play knight f5. How's he going to deal with this pawn? If he advances it, both of his pawns theoretically can become weak. They can also be aggressive. But then I'll just go ahead with knight d6, I guess. And then let's suppose we have a wholesale exchange here on f7. And again, I don't mind if he works to trade the light squared bishops. He can't do it here because he's going to drop a pawn on f3, but he can prepare it. He can play queen d1, but then I start getting some good move possibilities. I can play knight f5, tempoing his bishop. I can just go ahead and improve the queen's position. I can play queen f5. And if he plays, like, say, queen f1, I can even play g3 here, or g6. And black is no worse here. And I'm not going to try to demonstrate a win. Like, as I say, you can't sit here and look at everything. Every variation of these videos would go on for 22, 40, 50, 60 hours. I can just show the basics and say that black has a very playable game. And there's plenty more to come from the Nimzovich defense. As I said in the beginning, oh, by the way, I just want to make a note. I will include the PGN game score in the video description, so that if you want to follow this separately on your own analysis board like Winboard, you're welcome to do so. Well, again, I'm planning a huge series, and I want to have on my website. Right now I'm limited on the number of pages. I just received a $10 donation today towards funding that website. I want to thank the person that did that. I operate entirely on donations. My services are free, and the donations are certainly appreciated. I understand if you can't, not everybody can, but if you can, it really helps. You're helping everybody else, including yourself. If you find value in what I do, this helps me. Wikipedia works for free. You can donate to them if you like their service. I'm the same way. I reach a larger audience. To send people my way. This is an excellent program. My analysis is really something, I think. I'm getting nothing but positive comments from the people that are digging into this and finding things. You're not going to find a program anything like this on the internet. And it's like I say, it's my goal that every one of you that's serious about chess becomes a stronger player than I. And it can happen if you work my program. But you have to want to. If you want it, you can get it. I believe in you. All right. Thanks, everybody, for your time. I will make another Nimzovich defense video in the very near future. And I'd love to get that website funded. We got a little over $200 to go on it. Just go to my website, link to my profile, click the donations page, and you'll see the chip-in for this one. I removed my older chip-ins that had already closed. Received, I believe, $55 the first month, or $45, one or the other, and I think I've got $20 this month. We can do it. You guys can do it. I know you can. I'm going to give you the best chess instruction you've ever had. That's my promise to you, and you will all become chess masters if that's what you want. All right. I've said enough. See you soon. Take care.